Hello everyone, welcome back to our podcast, Culture and Coffee, a deep dive into how culture shapes our personalities. I am Paige.
I am Sam.
I'm Thayer.
And I'm Gisela.
Our topic in this episode is evoked culture. Gisela, can you go deeper into that?
Yeah, so basically evoked culture is like cultural differences created by environmental differences. And there's going to be like two conditions within that. So one condition is a differing environmental conditions for aspects, and then the other one's going to be activating a predictable set of responses.
Yeah, and for a great example for the different environmental conditions would be like how different countries use like spicy food and stuff like that to like fend off, I guess, sickness. Like, because I know that chilies and peppers have this like antimicrobial, and like a lot of these places have like very high like pathogens, and so people get sick a lot easier. And they have found out that spicy food has actually like lowered the risk of being sick, and so that's why they eat it more, and that's why some cultures have more prevalent spices than others that didn't have those pathogens that they needed to like fend off.
Yeah, because it's tropical places, I believe, where it's like equator areas and things like that, where it's like it's so warm and it's so wet, so it's like it's just breeding ground for bacteria.
Like what are some examples of places that have like, I guess, spicy foods?
Like Mexico, for example, or like just like South America, like Central America, any of those areas, they're known for their spicy food, right? Like they're known for having these hot foods with all
like
sorts
India
of
too.
And in India and like a lot of Asian cultures, honestly, they're known for having these peppers and these different spices and all of these things, because of the fact that there was so much bacteria and so many pathogens in the area because of the climate.
Yeah, so I think they would like eat things that are not spicy and they'd have the bacteria, they'd get sick. They eat things that are spicy, they wouldn't get sick. They notice that trend. So then they favor the spicy things, and then that just kind of like became what they ate, and then what they're known for.
Yeah, they're like, the bread and all of this grass ain't doing it. But the random pepper I found on this, this bush over here is keeping me really just happy and healthy.
It's kind of incredible if you think about it. Like, it's like they were so like, I guess, underdeveloped, I guess, compared to us now. Like just us as people. You know what I mean? And it's just like they didn't understand the science behind like health and stuff like that. So for them to be able to like determine like, oh, this food makes me sick or sick more, they probably like blend it. Isn't that also related to, sorry, sidetrack, of like people don't like pork in some countries or like some like cultures because it made them sick, but it really wasn't that making
it's like
them
the
sick,
unclean meat.
That's what I was just thinking.
I think that's for like religion.
It's for some religions, but it's because of the region that they
but
originate from.
Yeah, exactly. And some like religions are more popular in other places. So
Yeah, and I think, like, going back to, like, the pathogens, I think we can also see that in, like, conformity. Like, how, like, it drives that. I feel like you might know more on that if you want to expand.
So, like, I remember learning about it, going over it, where, like, conformity and, like, the tightness of the culture and of the community is tied to, like, the pathogen level, too. Where it's, like, if you're in an area that's really, like, high for pathogens, you have to kind of follow all the same rules, right? Like, you have to make sure that you're doing all the right stuff and that you're keeping safe from all of these things. And so when you deviate from that, they're like, what are you doing? Right? It's a very like, oh, well, you're causing issues, you're going to make everyone sick because you're not doing what you're supposed to. And that then, that then transforms into modern day societies where they are very conformist and they are very like tight cultures because of that, because it stems from people being like, oh, well, if you deviate, you are going to die, basically.
I definitely feel like that was seen during like COVID with like the whole like quarantine and masks.
Oh, that's a great one. Do you want to expand on the mask at all?
With the mask thing, I was thinking about it earlier actually, because it's like with the mask thing, it kind of puts it into like a modern day perspective where it's like, because like America and like the West is very like, they're very loose, right? It's a very like, it's not very conformative in any way or form. Like, it's all very, be yourself, be who you are.
Yeah.
And it's because of those low pathogen levels, right? And because of that, we were not prepared for any of that, right?
For sure.
And so we're like, oh, well, I don't have to wear masks, I'm not going to get sick, whatever. but then that ended up kind of displaying how we're not used to that versus a lot of like Asian cultures, for example, had no problem with wearing the masks because they're like, oh well, it's
better for
it's
the whole.
It's better for everybody, and I'm going to conform to what I have to do to make sure that nobody gets sick. Right?
Yeah.
It's
And jumping off. Oh,
no, you go ahead.
Jumping off that COVID thing, I think that really like correlates really well with cooperation in food supply. Like people would go to grocery stores and just buy in bulk in America, like because oh my god, the world's ending, we need all of this toilet paper, and we were running out of like basic supplies because everyone was hoarding them for themselves
because we were used to having that, so we didn't have to cooperate.
And like cooperation in food supply, that ties into Evoked culture too, right? Because it stems from like the hunter and gathering culture.
Inconsistent food sources versus consistent, and like America has this consistent, like, oh, all you have to do is just drive a few minutes to HEB and you have a selection of meat, nuts,
whatever your heart can desire.
Fruit. Even like
Texas
Oreos,
shake
like,
chicken nuggets.
Exactly.
The inconsistent food source, like hunting, that was seen with like higher levels of cooperation back in obviously hunting days, because like people didn't know if they were going to be able to like catch something, so they like shared it with their neighbor,
like
then
their
neighbor would share with them,
and it was like an understood thing. And then with the gathering, it's like you can just grab it from anywhere. And so it's like, and like it's not like there wasn't any cooperation, right? Like it's not like there's none at all, but it's a lower degree, and it's more, people are more willing to like kind of go their own way, you know.
Yeah, I think another, like, just thinking about it, like, another thing about COVID is that, like, the gas. People were, like, filling up, like, all the,
I don't know what that was about.
Gas. Like, it's like,
people lost their minds.
I know, like, and then that's why the gas prices, I'm not trying to get, like, off topic, but that's why the gas prices, like, shot up, because everyone wanted all to themselves and weren't willing to share. So that's why, like, we have this, like, you know,
that definitely goes into the like Western versus Eastern cultures that we'll get into. Eastern, okay, that definitely goes into the Western versus Eastern cultures that we'll get into next episode. But for sure.